Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a topic today that probably affects more of us than we realize: seasonal depression.
Yeah, it's something that, a lot of people kind of brush off as just the winter blues.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, it's getting dark early. I'm just feeling a bit blah.
But for some people, it goes way deeper than that.
Yeah, and that's where seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, comes in. We found this really informative overview on WebMD.
Oh, yeah, WebMD is a great resource.
So we're using that to kind of guide our deep dive today. It's like your cheat sheet to understanding SAD.
Like a crash course.
Exactly. So to kick things off, what exactly essay seasonal depression? Is it really that different from just feeling a bit down when the weather changes?
It really is. I mean, it's not just a case of the Mondays. It's a clinically recognized mood disorder.
Wow, so it's a serious medical condition.
It is. In fact, it's considered a subtype of major depression or even bipolar disorder in some cases.
I had no idea. I always thought it was more, just a bit of a mood dip.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that SAD is actually more prevalent than diabetes.
Really?
Yeah. It affects something like 11 million people in the U.S. each year.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It is. And then on top of that, another 25 million experience those milder winter blues.
So a significant portion of the population is dealing with this in some form.
Absolutely.
But why does this happen? What's the science behind SAD? Is it just as simple as less sunlight equals less happy?
Well, it's definitely connected to sunlight. The amount of sunlight we're exposed to, especially in the fall and winter, plays a big role.
So less sunlight during those shorter days.
Exactly. And less sunlight could mean our brains are producing less serotonin. That neurotransmitter that's really important for regulating mood.
Serotonin, that's the happy chemical, right?
Exactly. It helps regulate all kinds of things: sleep, appetite, our overall sense of well-being.
So if our serotonin levels dip, it makes sense that our mood would follow.
Yeah, like a chain reaction.
Makes total sense. But I'm curious, is that the whole story? Or are there other factors at play that we don't fully understand yet?
Well, that's the thing. The exact causes of SAD are still being researched.
So there's still a bit of mystery surrounding it.
There is. But we do know that it's more common in women.
Interesting. Any idea why that might be?
Not entirely, but it's something researchers are looking into.
Hmm.
And it also tends to start in young adulthood.
So not just something that affects older people.
Nope, it can affect people of all ages.
The WebMD article also mentioned something that I found kind of surprising. We always associate SAD with winter, right? But apparently there's also a form that starts in the summer.
Oh, right, summer depression. Yeah, it's less common, but it's definitely a thing.
Why would someone get depressed in the summer? I mean, that seems counterintuitive.
Well, it's thought that the longer daylight hours might actually disrupt some people's sleep patterns, and that can throw off their whole system.
So too much light can be a bad thing.
In a way, yeah. And the increased social pressures of summer, the heat, all of that can contribute too.
It's like our bodies are super sensitive to these shifts in daylight, no matter which direction they go.
Absolutely. Our internal clocks are very finely tuned.
So for anyone listening who's thinking, this sounds familiar, what are some of the signs and symptoms of SI that we should be looking out for? It can't just be feeling a bit down, right?
No, it's more than that. Common symptoms can include fatigue, having trouble concentrating, and changes in sleep patterns.
So like sleeping too much or too little.
Exactly. And your appetite can change too.
Mm?
Some people crave sugary comfort foods, others lose their appetite altogether.
Oh, that makes sense. I definitely get the comfort food cravings in the winter.
Yeah, it's common. And socially, you might find yourself wanting to withdraw or just losing interest in things you used to enjoy.
So it really affects all aspects of your life.
It can. And it's important to remember that in more severe cases, there can be thoughts of suicide.
Right, so this is definitely something to take seriously. It's not just a matter of toughing it out.
Exactly. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, it's crucial to reach out for help.
We also noticed in the article that there were some differences in the symptoms between winter and summer SID, especially when it comes to those cravings.
Oh, yeah. Good point. In winter SAD, people often crave carbohydrates, like those starchy comfort foods.
Yeah, like wanting to load up on pasta and bread.
Right. And it could be the body's way of trying to seek energy and warmth. But in summer SAD, it's more common to see a decrease in appetite.
Interesting. So opposite cravings depending on the season.
Pretty much. And in summer SAD, there's also often an increase in irritability or even aggression.
Wow, so the mood shifts can be quite different.
They can,
Mm-hmm.
which is why it's so important to pay attention to those patterns.
So let's say someone is recognizing these symptoms in themselves or a loved one. What's the next step? How is SAD actually diagnosed?
Well, the key is looking for a recurring pattern. For a SAZ diagnosis, you'd need to see those mood shifts consistently happening with specific seasons.
So not just a one-off thing.
Right. It needs to be happening for at least 2 years, coinciding with those seasonal changes.
Okay, so a consistent pattern over time. And of course, seeing a doctor is important, right?
Absolutely. A doctor can help rule out any other underlying conditions that might be contributing to the symptoms.
Because the article mentioned things like thyroid issues or low blood sugar can sometimes mimic SAD.
Exactly. It's important to consider all the possibilities.
But the good news is, once SAD is diagnosed, there are effective treatments available.
That's right. There's a lot that can be done to help people manage SAD and feel better.
And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. Stay tuned as we delve into how to combat seasonal depression and reclaim your well-being. Okay, so we know SAD is real, it's common. By UT, it's treatable.
That's the good news.
So let's jump into some of those treatments. And I want to start with one that I find particularly interesting, light therapy.
Oh yeah, light therapy.
What is it? Does it actually work?
So light therapy, basically it involves sitting in front of a specialized lamp that emits bright light, and yes, it really does work for a lot of people. The idea is that this light helps to reset your body's internal clock, and it boosts the production of those mood-regulating chemicals like serotonin.
So it's almost like giving our brains a dose of sunshine, even when it's gloomy outside.
Exactly, exactly. You got it.
And it's amazing to me how something as simple as sitting in front of a light can actually have that kind of effect on our biology.
Right.
Is it just any bright light, or is it something specific about these lamps?
It has to be a specific kind of light. It needs to be one that's designed for light therapy.
Okay.
It emits at least 10,000 lux of light.
Wow, that's pretty bright.
Yeah. And ideally with minimal UV rays.
Gotcha.
So, and it's important to talk to your doctor about finding the right lamp
Yeah.
and the best way to use it.
So there's some nuance to it. It's not like just buying any old lamp off the shelf.
Yeah. Right. You want to make sure you're using it correctly.
Now, we've been focusing on SID specifically, but I'm curious, what about those of us who don't necessarily have SCC, but still feel a bit down when the days get shorter?
Oh, yeah.
Could light therapy help with those more, kind of milder cases of the winter blues?
While light therapy is mainly used to treat diagnosed SAD, getting more natural light in general can be beneficial for anyone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Even if you don't have SAD, spending time outdoors, especially in the morning, can help boost your mood and your energy levels.
Soaking up that natural light.
Exactly, yeah.
So light therapy, sunlight, great place to start. But what about in those cases where that's not enough? Or maybe someone's symptoms are more severe? What other options are there?
Well, medication can also be a really effective treatment option for SAD. There's a medication called bupropion,
Okay.
which is specifically FDA approved for preventing major depressive episodes in people with SAD.
So it's not just about treating the symptoms once they hit, but actually preventing them from happening in the first place.
Exactly.
That's great. Now, the WebMD article also talked about therapy, which feels like another valuable tool in managing SAD.
Absolutely. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can be incredibly helpful. It helps people develop coping skills
Okay.
and learn to challenge those negative thought patterns that can contribute to SAD.
So it's like giving you the tools to kind of navigate those more challenging times.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we've got light therapy, medication therapy, a whole toolkit of options. The article also really emphasized lifestyle changes as being a key part of a holistic approach.
Oh, for sure.
It's easy to overlook, I think, the power of those everyday choices. But I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on how lifestyle changes can actually contribute to managing SAD.
Well, lifestyle changes can be really powerful when it comes to mood regulation.
Okay.
Things like regular exercise, eating a balanced diet, staying socially connected, managing stress, all of those things play a role.
They seem pretty simple, but it sounds like that can make a big difference.
They can. They really can.
Now, the article had some specific recommendations, particularly about getting outdoors, even when it's cloudy, which I thought was interesting.
Right.
Seems counterintuitive, but why is that so important?
Because even on a cloudy day, you're still getting that natural daylight.
Oh, okay.
And that can help to regulate your internal clock and boost your mood, even if it's not direct sunlight.
So just getting out there, even for a short walk.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's just for 15 minutes during your lunch break,
Okay.
get outside, soak up some of that daylight.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's too cold to be outdoors for long, at least open the blinds. Let some light into your home or your office.
It's like we're solar powered in a way.
In a way, yeah. We need that light to recharge.
Beyond sunlight, what about diet? Are there specific foods that can help combat the winter blues?
Well, while the article didn't go into specific foods, it did stress the importance of eating a balanced diet. Plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins.
So just making sure we're fueling our bodies with those good nutrients.
Exactly. And, that can help combat those cravings for sugary, starchy comfort foods that can actually make you feel worse.
Yeah, it's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So we're fueling our bodies with nutritious foods, moving our bodies, getting that precious daylight, and nurturing those social connections that bring us joy.
Sounds like a good plan.
Sounds like a recipe for a happy, healthy winter, even when the days are short. But we still have more ground to cover. Let's move on to the final part of our deep dive after a quick message. It's really incredible how those small everyday choices, like the things we were just talking about,
Yeah.
getting enough light, eating right, moving our bodies, it's amazing how much they can add up to make a difference in how we feel.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected our physical and mental well-being are,
Totally.
What we eat, how we move, even the environment we surround ourselves with. It all plays a role.
And it makes you think, if something as simple as light can have such a profound effect on our mood,
Right.
what other things, what other subtle influences might be shaping our well-being without us even realizing it?
That's a great point. It really is a good reminder to be more mindful of our surroundings
Yeah.
and how they might be affecting us.
For sure. So let's do a quick recap of what we've learned today about FISI.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's a real condition, and it's way more common than a lot of people think.
It is.
But the good news is it's treatable.
Definitely.
We talked about the range of symptoms from those classic winter blues to that less common summer pattern. And we dug into the science behind it all, how light and those serotonin levels can really have a huge impact.
Absolutely.
Most importantly, we discovered a whole bunch of different tools and strategies for managing CESI.
Yeah.
Light therapy, medication, therapy, and even those simple but powerful lifestyle changes.
Right. There's a lot that can be done.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right?
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding what SAD is, what causes it, and knowing how to treat it can be so empowering for people.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive on seasonal depression, is there anything else from the WebMD article that stood out to you that you found particularly helpful or insightful, something that our listeners can take away from this conversation?
One thing that really struck me was the emphasis on how even small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah.
You don't have to completely overhaul your entire life to feel better.
Right.
Even just those small things like 15 minutes of daylight or a quick walk can have a noticeable impact.
It's a great reminder that self-care doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing.
It doesn't.
It's those little everyday things that really matter.
Exactly. And before we go, I'd like to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
If even small amounts of light can have such a huge effect on us,
Yeah.
what other aspects of our environment might be influencing our well-being in ways we're not even aware of? It's a good reminder to stay curious and keep exploring these things.
That's such a fantastic question to leave us with. Well, that's all the time we have for today. To everyone listening out there, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into seasonal depression.
Thanks, everyone.
Remember, you're not alone, and there's always help available. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and take care.